Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another Gosu Gamers Hearthstone Deck Guide. I'm JoRoSaR. Now, today we're going to be talking about Control Mage. It's an archetype that recently became popular, and by fusing together both tempo and control elements, it provides versatility that its cousin Freeze Mage just doesn't. It's become the go-to build as Control Mage for climbing the ladder and is making waves in tournaments such as the HGG, where Freeze Mage is notably struggling. The deck relies on the unpredictability of cards such as Primordial Glyph, Babbling Book, and Cabal Courier, alongside strong mage removal spells to take over the game, and core mage secrets for defensive purposes. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the deck lists you might want to be playing with. Now that's quite a lot on your screen, so feel free to pause the video and maximize and take a look at what's going on. Control Mage has a couple of variations, and they differ usually by just a couple of cards. The standard list, which is seen on your left, runs double Babbling Book and a single Polymorph. And when facing heavy aggro opposition, a more teched version drops the Babbling Books to include anti-weapon cards such as Gluttonous Ooze and more board clear like Volcanic Potion. The list in the middle is said teched version and reached top 5 legend piloted by Cy Gunther. The deck on the right was played at the HTC APAC Championship by B787, and it was piloted to #1 legend, and notably it also runs Elise the Trailblazer for even more value. So let's take a look at some of the core cards you're going to have to get used to in pretty much all of these deck lists. The core of the Control Mage is in its cheap minions and spells, so Mana Worm is an absolutely essential minion, which can turn the switch and put you into aggro mode and dictate the tempo. Primordial Glyph is one of the most powerful cards in Ungoro, and offers a combination of unpredictability, adaptability, and tempo through the mana reduction. So make sure that is basically a card you watch out for in almost all deck lists. Arcanologist and Medivh's Valet go hand in hand with Ice Block and Ice Barrier. This combination of cards provides survivability, board control, and much needed deck thinning. You don't want to draw secrets off the top of your deck, you want to find burn. And in the late game, you want to be relying on Fireland's Portal and Medivh for tempo swings, and Alex Straza for both defensive and offensive purposes when you need to finish the game off. So that's broadly the cards that you'll be seeing in pretty much every deck list. Let's take a look at the kind of mulligans that you might expect. So going into mulligans now, you'll want to find all of your early game core cards basically straight away. It's fairly straightforward. You want to be looking for your Babbling Books, you want your Mana Worms, you want your Glyphs, and you want your Arcanologist and your Medivh's Valet. Now, if you have the curve or you're playing a matchup where value is particularly key, consider keeping Cabal Courier, but in most cases you still want a hard mulligan for the aforementioned 4 cards. If you're playing Oozes and Volcanic Potions and you know you're facing an aggro deck, keep them too. And Polymorph might sound good against control decks, but it only becomes useful in the much later turns against those Tyrians and those Warrior Taunts and stuff like that. So probably you wouldn't be keeping them in your starting hand. So that's pretty much it, on the grounds that like so many of the cards are common to so many of these deck lists, and you are just changing a couple of cards each time around. So even though Control Mage has control in its name, it's built in such a way that it can play virtually any style depending on the matchup. And most of the time you'll want to play defensively, trying to maximize value, which is very easy since many cards replace themselves, yay, and keep your health safe. That's only a really rough outline of the deck's playstyle, however, and you will have to learn the nuances with different openings and matchups to understand what you can get away with and what becomes playable. So if I had to summarize all of those plans broadly, I would say your aggro plan. Against slow decks, you want to go on the offensive, you want to make use of Mana Worm and Glyph to really put the pressure on, and you try and finish with a late game burst. Double Mana Worm opening is often game ending if it's not dealt with in time. And your control or tempo kind of plan will be your go-to strategy against aggro decks when you're not playing aggro yourself. You'll want to make defensive minion trades, you want to get value from your Ice Barrier, you want to search for every ounce of board control you can find with your Glyph and your Courier. And then you can also play it Freeze Mage style. because it does run many heavy burn tools like Alexstrasza, Pyroblast, Fireball. Control Mage can kind of switch to Freeze Mage with an Ice block in place, and this will be a strategy you'll often use when you've lost board control, such as when facing double mid-range decks. So your Murloc Paladins, your Jade Druids, your Elemental Shamans, and stuff like that. And the skill to identify what mode you need to play the deck as is how you get to Legend with the Control Mage. So understanding your matchups, understanding what is strong, what kind of cards you can expect to see, and how you should be playing your deck to adjust for it is what really brings out the strength in this deck. So make sure you know your matchups and prosper. So that's about it for this guide to Control Mage. It's very short and sweet. A lot of the cards are the same, but the playstyles can be incredibly different, and there's a lot of versatility in the way people can play this deck. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to go ahead and click subscribe to the Gosu Gamers Hearthstone channel, and you can check out some of the playlists from content from both Gosu Gamers and myself off to your left as well. That's it from me. We'll see you for the next guide. Take care.